The turning point for me was recognizing and realizing that I am losing who I am to please a world that doesn't even know how to make themselves happy.
That's a huge awareness.
Yeah, like I said, I like to do things, in style. My life has been filled with challenges, and challenge is something that I've embraced from a very young age. But this challenge was unsettling because it was like, regardless of what I did and who I became and the mold that I was fitting into, it still wasn't enough.
Hello, I'm Tessalyn Auburn. Welcome to the Say Yes to Your Soul podcast, where we empower women to connect with their souls and shine in their business. If you are ready to embrace your brilliance, create meaningful connections, and be compensated for your specific gifts, you're in the right place. Join us as we explore inspiring stories, practical insights, unique points of view, and soulful strategies, all to help you thrive. So let's dive on into this transformative journey together. Tune in and say yes to your soul.
Hello there, ladies. Our guest today is Ambereen Hameed, and she is a woman on a mission to transform the world by unifying families. Recognizing that this unit is the center of our lives, but it is also one of the first relationships we neglect, right? So this in turn makes people feel guilty and distant from those whose lives we impact regularly. And through her coaching, her mission is to create an irreplaceable and authentic bond centered around acceptance, gratitude, and shared values, so families connect through a whole new frequency. And I'm really excited about having her here. We just met. Ambereen, welcome to Say Yes to Your Soul.
Thank you so very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Wonderful. Thank you. So we just barely are knowing each other, and I know you're a mom. I don't know how many kids you have, but why don't you tell us a little bit about your family, and then just let's hear some of your magic around the role modeling and the bonding that is so important and critical in families.
Definitely. I am a single mother of 3 beautiful, amazing, healthy, wonderful children. And, this concept that I talk about a lot, where it's built upon bond, connectedness, unity, it all comes through these simple practices of acceptance, accepting ourselves as we are, our family members as they are. So that way we can start to appreciate them a little bit more, which is where I think a lot of the neglect comes through in our own lives, is we're not content with what we have, and we're always looking for more, which keeps us in a form of disconnect with our own selves. And then understanding and recognizing that there have to be core values that everybody's marching towards together to build this bond that becomes irreplaceable.
That is lovely. And, it's interesting as you're talking about the core values, I'm realizing, yes, I want to highlight this one thing, which is often mothers, fathers assume that their offspring or their relations have the same values, but that's not necessarily true. Or if they do have the same ones, there still needs to be a recognition that that's a unifying factor.
Definitely. I think as a family, you must know what your pillars are. You must know what ignites you, what deflates you. And these are some simple things that we can do, right? So when I'm taking these, individuals on a journey, especially a family on a journey of coaching, we actually do sit down and we vocalize and we write almost like in stone to say, these are the core values, the pillars that hold us up, and whatever it is that serves that family authentically is important.
So what got you looking at this and making this your life's calling?
For me, family is the center of my life, and it has been since I was very young. And living in the world that we live in now, I don't see families connecting in the way that we used to. I don't see that bond as something that unifies each other. I think people a lot of times look at their own families as burdens or people that they cannot understand or they don't understand them. So when I began to see that there were so many themes and parents would be complaining about children and children are complaining about parents and grandparents are complaining about grandkids, I actually began to think, like, what can I do? Because for me, this is such a sacred bond, a sacred connection, but why is the world kind of looking at it the other way? So I think that kind of began the pathways and began to carve my path, into this realm of family coaching.
Well, on your own journey of your heart, your divinity, your soulfulness, how did this come into play? Where were you struggling? And then what occurred or what actions did you take to overcome them?
Yeah, so I think for my own journey, which has been probably the biggest, teacher in my life, which many of our journeys are, anybody who's caring for others recognizes and knows that they will care for other people far more than they care for themselves. And I was on the same path where I was a remarkable mother and a daughter and you fill in the blanks, whatever that is. But I did not really know who I was. So as caregivers, as caretakers, I think recognizing and realizing that you must also put yourself as a priority. You must learn to love yourself, to take care of yourself, and to take those moments of rest and pause when it's necessary for you to fuel yourself so that way you can be of better service to others. And through it all, the one thing I would say is I exceptionally served my family regardless of the difficulties I was going, in my own mind and my own body. That was something that I really held core to my own belief.
What were some of those challenges for you that you were going through?
Challenges that I would say was making other people happy and losing my integrity over it was probably one of the biggest ones that I faced. So it's one of these beautiful quotes that is in a song that I adore. It's, I stood for nothing, so I felt for everything.
Oh.
So when I shook my own foundations and my own values, and I didn't stand with them strong and feeling invincible, I began to break down my own self. And when you think, oh, it's not a big deal, it's just this one time, and then you see the cycle repeats itself in grander and bigger things, you start to forget who you are. The other challenge that I think I faced was not recognizing the element of spirituality and how much it played in my own mental and my own physical, my own emotional strength. And when it was me feeling a disconnect with spirituality, I kind of began to downhill spiral to a place where I felt lonely. I went through severe depression, and I didn't really have a lot of meaning and purpose for my own life.
Well, that sounds like that would have been, pretty shattering to your family.
So in all honesty, I think it was more shattering for me than it was for my family.
Yeah.
The reason being is I've been somebody who is really great at showing up for other people as my best self and kind of going above and beyond. I love service. I just love to serve people. And I am somebody who is a giver. So because I wasn't receiving anything, even for my own self, I began to break myself apart in ways that I didn't think was possible. During this whole time that I went through my own turmoil and difficulties and challenges, I wouldn't say that my family knew what I was going through because everything was extremely functional. I was still there with my children. Yeah. I was with my children. I kind of stayed back to take care of my kids. I was present with them every single day. We had home cooked meals every day. We had everything that you could imagine to run a house in a beautiful way. Yes. But the one thing that they have noticed was my energy. And the fact that it wasn't always one that served me because I was kind of disappointed in my own self and, the actions of other people kind of impacting that.
Okay. So you mentioned a little bit earlier about acceptance. And I don't know if that was when we were talking before we were recording this, but there's something in there, I think, like in that piece that you just shared. How did that how did not being able to accept yourself or not being able to accept your family members show up?
So what starts to happen is when you realize that there's a part of you that's feeling a void, right? You have if you looked at my life from a superficial lens, you were like, wow, she has everything. She lives in Orange County, California. She has two beautiful children. Two beautiful boys. She has a daughter that's remarkable. She has a husband who works here. She has this, and this. So superficially, I had it all. And then I went back into the work industry, and I was working with a very, very reputable company who adored me and loved me and valued me and cherished me. But I still felt a void. I felt like there was something missing. And the part that was missing was me.
Yeah, you were like on automatic control, it sounds like.
I was driving a Ferrari on automatic, yes.
You were in style, but still, it was a void and it didn't feel good.
And many of us caregivers and caretakers and providers feel this. But because we think that our life is just a go, 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 we don't stop to process and realize that, no, this also needs some time and attention, because that only amplifies as time goes on.
What was a turning point for you, Ambereen?
The turning point for me was recognizing and realizing that I am losing who I am to please a world that doesn't even know how to make themselves happy.
That's a huge awareness.
Yeah, like I said, I like to do things, in style. My life has been filled with challenges, and challenge is something that I've embraced from a very young age. But this challenge was unsettling because it was like, regardless of what I did and who I became and the mold that I was fitting into, it still wasn't enough. So I began to feel like I was not enough. I was told that I wasn't enough. There were so many things that were wrong with me. And I started to believe the perception of other people as my defining markers. And so the more and more I kept changing and evolving to fit into somebody else's mold, yet still recognizing that I'm still not enough, kind of came to a point where I wouldn't know the simplest of things about me. I didn't know what my favorite outfit was. I didn't know if I preferred to go out to watch a movie or to stay indoors to watch a movie. Simple things that a lot of times children, that are curious beings ask. And not having the answers kind of makes you recognize and realize that I really don't know who this Ambereen is. I know who Ambereen as a mother is. She's a remarkable mother. I know who Ambereen is as a wife. She's irreplaceable. I know Ambereen as a daughter-in-law and so on and so forth, but I don't really know this soul for my own self.
Oh my gosh, this is really a beautiful. I'm so glad you're here today to share this, because you are an excellent example of someone who's gone through this, who has come out the other side, who's found herself. And you didn't need to totally like destroy your family or walk away from everybody to do it.
That's true. Yeah.
You did it a different way. Share with us how you found yourself with your family.
I would say I did lose part of my family. I actually went through a divorce. And what this divorce did is kind of gave me a point to restart, to now this time design my life with intentionality, with consciousness, with an ability to charge forth, knowing what it is that I want, because now I had control over my life.
Good. Yes. So you got a do-over.
I think I think every day that we wake up, we have a do-over.
Yeah.
I would say that I was courageous for other people, but I didn't know how to be courageous for my own self. I was a voice of, awareness for others, but I could not articulate that for my own self because I hadn't been raised to be that. As a Pakistani Muslim woman, you're not entitled to opinions. You're not entitled to your feelings. You're not entitled to sharing the things that you don't like. Your job is to be obedient. And I had done this job exceptionally well with excellence most of my life.
Okay. So first of all, I want to honor that, your heritage and where you came from. And that's very, very restrictive for women. And what you're sharing here is, I see it universally. Like whether or not somebody's in that kind of culture, there still has been, an oppression or a perceived oppression of women or what we're supposed to be like. And so it takes a while for women to find their voice, to feel free enough, like they're not going to be shamed or driven away, exiled in some ways, emotionally abandoned for having their opinion. And I love the example, one of the things that you shared about like just not even knowing what your favorite outfit was, right? Because nobody had asked and you weren't asking yourself. And I just really want to acknowledge like the courage you must have had to come into to make the shifts you have. And I would love to know more about that. I know our audience would love to know how you became more courageous, Ambereen.
I think I just tapped back into my Amberji. Which is such a fun thing to say because I truly do believe every single human comes into this world with a purpose. And that's to share their gift with the world, whatever that gift is, That gift could be that if you design a light bulb, people stand there in awe, understanding how is it even a thought, that let alone how did it come into fruition? Or if it's something like you're a photographer, people are like, I literally feel like the butterfly sitting on my hand and it's actually in a picture. Whatever that gift is, if you can find out what that is and tap into that and share it with the world, it gives you limitless courage. It gives you limitless invincibility. It gives you this centeredness and this awe, which is built for me around gratitude to say that, wow, I get to lead this life. This is my story. Everything about my story, the ups, the downs, the challenges, it's all there for a bigger purpose, for a bigger reason. And so for me to step into my own courage, I literally tapped back into my forever 21-year-old self. I'm being completely honest with you, Tessa. And she was somebody who was spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally so aligned, so connected because she knew who she was. And so when I did that and I allowed myself, I gave myself permission to say, yeah, that's where I need to go because she's it. So I think it just made the process kind of started to flow a little bit easier.
Well, that's really interesting. I love your perception of your own experience, which is it's different in some ways than what we typically hear. Like people remember like parts of themselves and they come back a piece at a time or something like that. Or they go like, oh yeah, I remember I have this. And oh yeah, I remember I have that. And it could take forever, but it's like you just knew your 21-year-old self was her. And somehow you just reconnected with her. You made that choice and you've been bringing her forward more and more. I'm really glad you have. And what are a couple, I want you to name, if you can, just name a couple of her essences for our audience today.
Well, Amberji is just pure, authentic, radiant, courageous light.
I love that. It's so nice to meet you, Ambereen. Yes. Beautiful.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. All right. I would love to make sure that our listeners have a way they can reach out to you and connect. Would you like to tell them about your free gift?
Sure. Yeah. So if anybody is willing to connect with me, or anything that I've said to you resonates, where I can make an impact in your life or in the life of your loved ones, please reach out to me, DM me on any social media. My handle is Coach Ambereen. So it's spelled Ambereen. And I would love to get on a coaching session with you, a discovery call, and see how I can serve you.
Beautiful. So do that if you're resonating with Ambereen's story here, her message. She's very, very vibrant, and we'll have all her contact information in the show notes for you. I'm so delighted that we got to meet today, Ambereen, and thank you very much for showing up for yourself first and for the others in your life secondly, and for saying yes to your soul. That's it for today. I will talk with you next time. Bye-bye for now.
All right. If you're hearing this message, you have listened to our newest Say Yes to Your Soul episode all the way to the end. And for that, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I invite you to stay updated with me, and the best way to do that is to sign up for my free gift, 3 Steps for How to Reignite Your Soul Fire. And you can get that at tessafreegift.com, tessafreegift.com, or just go to the podcast website, sayyesToYourSoulPodcast.com, and that's where we have all the episodes and more. I wish you an amazing day.